You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
I'm a relationship hack.
Run up and get touched up, suicide. And all of y'all know my style. I excel, then prevail. Run up and get touched up, suicide, that's it. And all of y'all know my style. I excel, then prevail.
Yeah. Right now, I'm looking for all the young heads with old souls and all the old heads with young hearts. Let's do it. Truth is, time for some newness. Only a chosen few really do this. Who's this? Young Jesus, who's this? It's a God on the mic, you're rude, it's OG. The original God, the vanguard, still giving you bars. Cats couldn't see the visuals too hard. It's the classic, vintage, brand new car. I'm a 6'4", bouncing on hydraulics. Granddaddy's caddy with the bright red polish. I'm the equivalent when I drop it. It's worth more now than it was in the hotness. Real talk, my paradigm is timeless. Showed you what time it is, now you know what time is. My clock is the heart when the mind shifts. The young-hearted OG's timeline flip. Brand new heat, but I'm so OG with it.
Hey, you gotta let that play though. That's new Kool Moe D. We just premiering a new Kool Moe D record? Come on, man. Let's listen to these lyrics real quick. Kool Moe D.
Pull your pants down a little bit. Pause. Pull your pants down a little bit. Pause. Pull your pants down, sag a little bit. Pause. Only my wifey can see my drawers. I'm OG. That comes with a G code. Energy is always in G mode. My speed is not a young G's flow. I ride with them, but I'm not a young G. No, my style, cool in the cut. Hat broke down, pants pulled up. Cut from a cloth that you can't kill. Cause no matter how hard hate can't kill love, baby, throw back. You can call it what you call it. See it how you see it or see it how you saw it. I'm just looking at my bank account and my wallet, and a 30 is a stack and still giving it to y'all with brand new.
Yeah! What? Kool Moe D! I don't know where to get it. I don't know where to tell you to get it at. But he delivered it to me a couple of days ago. I said, Mo D, you still doing it like that?
Y'all haters gotta take this.
Oh, I love it, man. I ain't gonna play all of it. No. Let's not play all of it.
Where the horn section?
Well, I knew you was gonna say something.
I heard
You didn't hear all that, but you didn't hear all that lyric?
He bouncing with that.
Come on, man. Hey, Kool Moe D's new record, Brand New Heat, debuted here on the Zo What Morning Show. I am excited. Welcome. It's Monday. The Zo What Morning Show back in the building, exclusively on T Radio V. That's radio in TV. You can't see this anywhere else, man. It's what we do. You know we have incredible topics. You know we got a lot of information to dole out this morning. But before we get to that information, you know we got to get to our business empowerment. The first business we're going to empower, community empowerment, is the business of Bobby Glanton Smith. Real men don't play. I keep telling y'all, this man got my son's phone number. He watched my son on TV, my son do something stupid. Bobby get right there and call him. Hey, man, what are you doing? Who you representing out here? You better get this book, man. Real Men Don't Play. You can get it on Amazon. Bobby, is there a Real Men Don't Play website?
Yeah, www.realmendon'tplay.com. What
There
else
it
would
is.
it be?
There it is. Y'all got to support realmendon'tplay.com. Bobby Glanton Smith. Also, I want you to support Talking to Crazy. Now, Dr. G gave me a copy of the audio book. I've been listening to it in my car. It's good, man. It's really good. I see why it's nominated for, what is it, some type of award?
The Audio Award. That's the Oscars for audible books.
Man, I'm very, very pleased to say this book is on fire. And if you dating anybody, there's a certain level of crazy in them. Please get this book so you can see it coming before you have to fight with Crazy, because Crazy don't fight fair.
That's true. That's true.
Crazy don't fight fair. Get this book by Mark Goulston, Talking to Crazy. Excellent work. And then last week we had my homeboy Furpo Carr on the show. Listen, Furpo Carr, when it comes to that biblical stuff, one of the smartest people I know. I mean, educated to the nth degree in all multiple languages and everything. He wrote an incredible book. This is just one of the many incredible books he has written. But this latest one is fire. Black Manuscripts, Why the Bible Isn't the White Man's Book. Furpo Carr. A lot of people were reaching out to me after that show last week. Where can I find Furpo Carr? Where can I go to Amazon.com? He has a whole listing of books up there. Please continue to support that brother. Also, Weed Juice is in the building. You said you wanted this one here.
Your book.
Oh, I'll get to it. What do we have? Orange, you're glad your skin looks great. Orange, apple, carrot, celery, and ginger. Look at that. Wow, what do you want, Bobby?
I'm gonna go with these strawberries, watermelon, man.
I'm going to go.
Ginger, mint, and lime.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. Can we
You
trade?
can do a trade.
Not today.
You can do a trade.
Okay, well, this is one of my favorites anyway. Berry Bonita. Grapefruit, orange, lemon, ginger, and berries. Now, berries is in the script. This could be in it. This is berries, fruits, and juices. Berries and juices. You put this in your hair. Well, I don't have it. Let me do this. I made a blunder today because I was supposed to go get this candy. I was supposed to bring you guys candy today from Shepherd Sweets.
Oh, jeez.
I'm sorry. She made some new shit.
I'll pay for delivery.
Trust me. You're going to be upset when I tell you. She made some white chocolate, pistachio, caramel, crunch, toffee candy. And I was supposed to bring it here, and I forgot it. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Please continue to support that sister. Her business is doing pretty good. I'm glad you guys have gotten behind her and her movement. Those confections are for real. I wish I could have brought that pistachio, white chocolate, caramel, crunch, toffee menagerie that she put together. It's on fire. You guys should support her. Please, please, please. Now, to the website businesses that are up. Man, you got to go to Ram Omar. Ram Omar is cutting up. Now, let me just say this real quick. Ram Omar is a luxury brand. It is a black-owned luxury brand. Look at the purses here. That's crocodile. Continue to scroll. Look slowly, pimp. Slowly. Python. Just look at Jesus Christ. This is a luxury brand. You know what I get tired of seeing? When brothers online or somebody online be like, oh, man, this is expensive. Well, then it ain't for you. But you don't say the same thing when you try to get some Jordans. Those are expensive. You don't say the same thing when you try to get the Louis bag. What this black man said was, we're going to create a brand that's based off of our culture. As a matter of fact, pull them back up, but pull up the dresses for the women. Right? He said, we're going to do a luxury brand for black people that represents black culture. Now, look, when you buy Versace, you know whose face is the symbol of Versace? Medusa. You represent Medusa. Right? That's their stuff. He said, no, represent your stuff. So when we start trying to represent our stuff, what do we get? We get people say, oh, that's expensive. You didn't say it was expensive when Versace said, give me $5,000 for this dress or give me $2,000, $3,000 for this backpack. This brother is pulling out all the stops, man. These are some beautiful garments, man. And he's saying, this is your culture. This represents your people. You feel me?
What would one of those dresses cost, roughly?
I think the average, about $1,300.
Wow. Beautiful.
Look at the Persian look down here. These are the new Persian, Assyrian looks. I mean, and what's so interesting about he's going to every culture that black people founded. They going into Mexico, they going into Asia. He gonna go everywhere. That's what's beautiful about this man's art. I mean, the brother is a very talented artist. Now, let's go to the Aria Rose collection. We got it? Yeah. You want to get your wife a nice purse, high grain quality leather. This is the place to do it. They made a backpack for me. The backpack is awesome. I love it. I support them. Easy Boy Web. Get with Easy Boy Web right now. All right? They built my website. They have all the solutions for your social media needs. If you need a website, if you need promotion on Instagram, they have all of these different solutions. You got to get with this brother. His name is Landon Webb. He's out of Atlanta. He created Easy Boy Web. Let's keep moving. Power in One t-shirts. I'm wearing one of the Power in One hats. I mean, I always wear this hat because I like it. But they have so much more, so much incredible stuff. I love their stuff because it has meaning on it. Power in One, that's us. Please continue to support these brothers. Ryan Lucas has an album out. You see his hoodie down there. Man, please support that brother as well. RBGTs. Love these brothers too, man. They got a lot of powerful and fly garments and gear. And, you know, I wear a lot of their stuff to the gym, man. I just put that hoodie on and go in there and lift them weights and just, you know, keep it cracking, keep it pushing. And now, mind-blowing mobile apps. You guys got to go to them right now. And I'll tell you why. This sister, Wanda Trotter, has created for Zoe Williams the most effective business tool I have ever had in my life. That app that woman created for me is not a game. If you haven't gotten my app yet, you got to download Zoe Williams, whether it's iTunes or on your iPhone, whether it's Android, you got to download my app. Let me show you something. What she's done, she took my lecture from Sacramento. She took my lecture and made it a feature on the app. You can only see this lecture on the app. You pay a little piece of change to get it, and then the entire lecture from Sacramento is on the app, and it's only available there. Man, pull up a little piece of the lecture real quick. Personalities as well as the radio, the future, right? This are you perfecting?
So what does the app cost monthly or yearly or whatever?
The app isn't an expense. I think it's like depending on how much bandwidth you have, how much stuff you got going on, it's probably about $30 a month. But I will tell you this, the app is now replacing the website as the most effective business tool. Remember we used to say, go to my website, check out my website, my products are on my website, Now all of that is on your cell phone because of the advent of the cell phone technology and the app.
Does it come with a tutorial?
She is the tutorial. She will show you how to operate. She has a whole team surrounding her, and they'll walk you through the process of each element of functionality on that website or on that app. She'll teach you how to use every little thing. And it's really simple. It's really tactile. You know, you hit this little button and all of the functions come out. You want to see my videos, you go click the little YouTube icon on my app. It'll take you right to the latest videos. Or you can see all of them from oldest to new, or you can click recent and see newest to old, right? Very, very simple, very functional, man. She's awesome.
How do we find yours?
You download it. You have an iPhone. You download Zoe Williams. And Zoe Williams has no spaces. It's just ZOWILLIMS.
So is that the only way you can use that app is, can you use it on Android?
Yes.
Can you use it on a computer? No.
Yes. She'll give you the computer link for you to open up your app and see it on your desktop.
So how do you get in touch with her?
Wanda Trotter, pull it up. Mind-blowing mobile That's her, man. And I'm telling you, any black business who's trying to make money needs an app. I'm going to tell you right now, Arise Hospitality, we promoted them. Freedom Paper Company, they need the Freedom Paper Company app. This sister could do it. Even Ramomar, that brother with all of the beautiful clothing, they could do it as well. They need an app from this woman because it just makes your business mobile. I don't have to wait till I get home to get on the internet. I don't have to. The phone is always with me and I'm always checking it. I can do business right there.
So she can also like get rid of all these other useless apps I got on my phone.
Well, Bobby, you 79, so everything is useless. Bobby don't even know. He be deleting shit that means something to the phone. What the hell? This shit done popped up. That's Bobby. Hey, go buy my book. You can buy it off my app. You can get it off of iBooks. Please continue to support the Relationship Dismount, How to Stick the Landing. Soon, we're going to start our campaign for my second book, Quantum Relationships. But right now, please continue to support this book. I urge you to go to my website, iamzowilliams.com, click shop, and purchase a copy of the Relationship Dismount. If you want the digital version, we have it on iBooks, iTunes, and Kindle. Thank you so much. When we come back, today's topic, gonna be nuts.
Smooth and jazzy like elephants. You can feel it all in your hips. Moving through you like a cheap old glass of ripple. Apricot cuties be blazed off the radio's latest craze. Pandemonium sweeping across the lanyards. Cause we be.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Hi kids, Billy and Francesca here for my brand new show at T Radio V, Advice from an Idiot, every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. So please call in and get some advice from someone who knows absolutely nothing about everything.
I'm Zoe Williams.
And I'm Dr. Mark Goulston. I'm Jeff Brown.
And we make up the Zoe What Morning Show. You can find us here on TRadiov.com every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I make you think.
He makes you laugh, and if I get a chance, I'll help you change.
Or make you cry with his attempts at humor.
Radio in TV.
Can you relate? We'll make it happen.
Look at you. What you doing?
Were you mumbling to yourself?
Hey, back there mumbling.
To them. To them.
Yo, what's up? This is your boy Kyle Master, and you're checking out T Radio V.
T Radio V.
T Radio V.
Hello, T Radio V. Love you guys. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
Hi, I'm Plastic Martyr, and I've got a new show called Just Like You on T Radio V. It's an inside look into my Hollywood life where I give you a sneak peek into a world of beauty, fashion, and fame. Illusions will be shattered. And of course, there's a little sex, hugs, and rock and roll. Be sure to check it out Wednesdays at 11, only on T Radio V.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
A white guy like me co-hosting a black radio show. I think toxic relationships cause you to take poorer care of yourself. That if you can recognize danger, if you can pause, if you can take some breaths, refocus, and engage, you might be able to dodge a bullet that you're going to send or coming towards you. One of the things that men don't get is that often women need to vent first to clear their mind. So today we're going to be talking about ADD or ADHD, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Is it real or is it Memorex? Is it something, some conspiracy put upon the black community? We're going to weigh into it. But I am a medical doctor, and I used to actually do public conferences on ADD. So I'm going to give you some insight into it that will help you understand it in ways that perhaps you hadn't. What happens with people who have attention deficit disorder? They don't have an attention deficit. It's that they can't pay attention for long to something that bores them. they can pay attention to something that excites them. So a lot of people with ADD can play video games for 8 hours straight. And what's happening in your brain on ADD, if you've ever driven a stick shift car, you know that when you're idling too slow, it stalls out. And so what happens in your brain is that if your brain isn't stimulated enough, it stalls out. And so you can't really grab your highest mental functioning and focusing when you're bored because it stalls out. One of the reasons people are drawn to exciting things when they have ADD is it stimulates natural Ritalin, natural adrenaline. And when that gets stimulated, it boosts the resting RPMs of your brain so that your brain can engage your mind and you can focus. It's also why a lot of extreme athletes have ADD, because when they're in danger, that pushes out adrenaline. Adrenaline, again, pumps up their resting RPM of their brain so they can engage their minds. And so one of the reasons they prescribe these stimulants is so that you can have your mind engaged at stuff that's kind of boring. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, they're trying to make education more entertaining, because what they're finding out is tons and tons of students just can't pay attention if they're not engaged, if something is not, I guess, boosting enough of their natural kind of adrenaline so they can have pay attention. So that's sort of how it goes, because a lot of people would say, why is it that stimulants can slow your brain down? Well, what it does is it helps your brain actually speed up to engage your mind, and when it engages your mind, you can focus.
Wow. Well, that's the setup for today's topic. The black male super predator. A deeper look into ADHD, or ADD, and the attack on young black boys and men. We get attacked and it was important that I do this conversation, that I have this topic, because I was just in a classroom for the Read Across America, Read America. I was just in a classroom reading the kids. And, this kid is bad, or that kid is, ooh, look at that kid over there. Ooh, And what I'm starting to see is, first off, I don't believe in the ADHD shit right off the top. When I was little, it was called hyperactivity. This nigga hyper. That's all. Sit your ass down somewhere.
No, don't even sit down. Get your ass out in that yard with your friends.
Burn it off. Burn it off and then come back in here, right? But let me just say this. Just because somebody labels it something doesn't necessarily mean that that is the truth. Maybe these kids are of a different generation, because this is what I recognize with these young kids. When I was little, babies couldn't do shit. They just sit there like a bump on a log. Now babies are born into a digital world, and babies, it seems like they're picking up shit. They're walking faster, they're talking faster, they're using computers quicker. Maybe ADHD is just the evolution of their brain moving quicker, and the educational system, which hasn't changed since the 1700s, it's still on a conveyor belt. Maybe they're thinking outside of the box. So let me give you some medicine so you can get back in the box. Because remember, in psychiatry, they have that box that is considered normal, right? And if you outside that box, something is wrong with you in some way, shape, or form. If you're too happy, you're manic. If you're too sad, you're depressed. Just because you're labeling shit doesn't mean it's actually a problem. It just means society needs to put you somewhere in order to understand what you are. Now, we got Veronica Conway on the line. We got Bobby Glanton in the building. Bobby, do you think ADHD or ADD or hyperactivity, whatever you want to call it, was created to attack black boys? Because when we look at the numbers, it disproportionately affects minorities, especially black boys, than anybody else. Not to say other people ain't labeled with it, but black boys, that to me, that's the beginning of the end. On your way to jail, some kind of way, is getting that ADHD label put on you, and then it turns into special ed.
Well, I think the outcome has been a focus on, the people disproportionately affected by it have been black and poor people. I don't think they necessarily started out with that intent, because it was driven by profit, in my estimation. Because we got to a point where disruption in school became an opportunity for the pharmaceutical industry to employ their wares to a new marketplace. Because it never made any sense to me to give a child medicine for being active.
Right.
The two never did, intersect for me. It didn't make sense. I remember many years ago when I was living in San Diego back in the 80s, after I got out of the Navy, a friend of mine arranged for me to do some consulting work at Lincoln High School in San Diego, where Marcus Allen went to school. Mm-hmm. And the reason they brought me in was they was having problems with these kids in the freshman year of school, adapting to high school. And I went into the first classroom I went to, and the kids is bouncing off the walls. They can't sit down for more than 2 or 3 minutes, and some of them were crack babies. They got all kind of excuses. But what it boiled down to was nobody had took the time to really sit down with these kids and say, well, first of all, sit down in class.
Sit down.
All right. And then, a couple of them going to buck up to you, but I wasn't afraid of them, and I loved these children to begin with, so I didn't have a problem with the kids. It was a matter of just getting them to understand this behavior is unacceptable. You're here to learn. Give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And by consistently showing up every day, I developed a rapport with these kids. Then we got down to why they're there. And then I ended up getting more resistance from the administration, because that cut down on the number of trips to the pharmacy at the school. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wait a minute, y'all need to quit doping these kids up, man. That cannot be the first remedy, is to prescribe a medication that has nothing to do with the root cause of why this kid is misbehaving. It was a behavioral issue more than it was a hyperactivity issue.
Right. Now, when you hear what Doc just said, the medicine is designed to slow the brain down. To me, that's a problem.
No. It speeds the resting brain idle up so it engages the mind, because if the idle of the brain is too slow, you're operating from your brainstem. So what happens is you go like this, and then your mind is engaged.
So let me understand this. The brain, using your the brain is sped up when the kid is playing the video game.
Right.
And then when the kid is not playing a video game or something he's not interested in,
it stalls out.
Then it slows down. So the medicine then kind of jump starts the brain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. One quick question.
Okay, I want to say something.
Yeah, please. But answer me this: what are the other effects of that medication? If it does that, then what's the other things that are going on once the medicine is consumed?
Well, there can be all kinds of problems sleeping, all kinds of problems where you're hyper, and it can make you more hyper. In fact, there used to be something called a stimulant challenge. And what that would mean is that some people would come in and you didn't know if they had ADHD or ADD. And if you gave them just one tablet of Ritalin or Adderall, it would work within hours. And so if it got you more hyped up, then you didn't have ADHD. If it got you calmed down, there's a possibility you did have it. And so look, it's a difficult situation because when you're not able to control yourself, when you're hyper or whatever, and this is not just blacks, this is everyone. What happens with girls, by the way, they don't have the hyperactivity. They space out, so they're just kind of staring because they're not engaged. They don't have as much hyperactivity as the boys. And the problem is, you get to be called dumb and all that. I'll tell you something else that for adults, because I'm not prescribing anything. I can't even prescribe anymore. But some of our hosts might be interested in this. Years ago, I remember a guy came in, and I'd been seeing him for a few years, and he just said, he just
saying some of your co-hosts needs medicine. That's cool. I got you.
No, but
I heard that.
I think this will cause you to.
Just thought I'd let you.
No, I think this will cause you. I think this might cause you to slow down enough to engage your minds. Your brain's spinning. But anyway, but what happened is this guy came in, and he, and he through some insight and willpower and whatever, he'd been doing okay. And then what happened is he was just couldn't hold it together, and I said, why don't we try the stimulant challenge? And he was a tough lawyer. And he calls me 3 hours later, and he's kind of emotionally choked up. And I said, what went wrong? He said, I'm normal. I said, what? He said, I'm normal. I said, what does that mean? He said, I didn't tell you. Getting through law school was like a war. I mean, my whole life, I just thought it was my personality, and it was through sheer will and tenacity that I could focus on things. But I've been at war forever in my head. I just thought it was part of me. And so why are you crying? I'm feeling relief because I didn't think normal was in the cards for me. I'll tell you something. There's another book that I want to bring to your attention. It's called A Different Perspective by Thomas Hartman. Zoe, you would love this because what he talks about is the distinction between farmers and hunters. And what he said years ago, hunters had ADD, but that helps you focus on the enemy, prey, animals. So ADD is great if you're a hunter. It's not very good if you're a farmer, if you have to put in seeds and you wait. And because school has so suppressed people's natural instincts, what happens is the people who are the farmers can sit there and learn stuff, but people who are normally hunters have a hard time sitting still.
Wow. Listen, when we come back, Veronica Conway is going to tell us how she cured her son with no drugs at all.
Great.
This is about to get crazy. Listen, the black man is a super predator according to Hillary Clinton. Nobody wants to deal with the conditions that created, quote unquote, super predator. When we come back, that's what we're going to deal with on the Zoe What Morning Show. We'll be back in 2.2.
How many of you voting for Hillary? You don't have to raise your hands. I do not blame you for wanting a female president. But that's a wicked woman. Now listen, you can vote for her, but vote for her with knowledge. She can be sweet, but so can you. And you know when you're sweet but playing a game. All of a sudden she know about Trayvon Martin. All of a sudden. The boy been dead nearly 2 years. Now she's talking about him like she met the mother and these white people, this is Satan. And you fall for that crap? Most of you that went to jail for having a little blunt in your pocket, they arranged that, the Clintons. Mass incarceration came about under the Clintons. Don't forget that. They call my young gangbangers super predators. And Black Lives Matter put it to her. She didn't know how to handle that. Call you a super predator that has no conscience, no sensitivity, like you a dog, you an animal. We got to bring you to heel. You, my young brothers, this is what she said about you. And she didn't just say it. It became law and policy of the U.S. government under Bill Clinton and her wife, his wife, and now she's apologizing. But apologizing can't bring back the broken families. Apologizing can't bring back those that have been destroyed in prison life. Apologizing she in her person orchestrated the destruction of Libya and the killing of Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was my friend. He was my brother. She lied. He was going to kill all his people. No, he wasn't. He was just going to kill those rebels that America seized on their dissatisfaction, made a counter-revolutionary move, and then used it to bring NATO in to bomb and destroy his air defense, and then move to kill him.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Hey, what's up? It's Tone Loc in the house, and you're tuned into T Radio V.
All right, serious business.
Okay,
here.
ready, guys?
Serious business. Radio voice, everybody. Okay, here we go.
Let's just play. We should put music on and just dance for a minute.
Wait. I have to stop and say one thing. I have to say it 2 words.
Hey.
So join us and the rest of the T Radio V.
Ready? Are we on? Give me some music. Watch this. Ready?
Wait, are we rolling?
No. Oh, is this real? Like, I was just totally kidding.
Oh, let's start again. Say that. Okay, start again.
Keep going.
I could do real jazz. Do jazz hands.
That was a shtick. I was doing a shtick.
Well,
the hair is blonde, it's dye. Just because you don't have any hair and he doesn't have any hair and I have all this fake hair.
Start again.
Fine.
How's the hair and the...
I feel like I'm in a puzzle.
Any show you can have, I can have better.
Any show you can have, I can have better.
Are we filming all this? Yep. That's awesome. This is the good stuff. You're short and you know it. I know it was a lot of hodgepodge, but that's good, right?
Yeah,
hodgepodge is good to cut.
Let's do the intro one more time. Menopause.
Hello, T Radio V.
Hello for us.
Hi, guys. My name is Steve Ranazizi.
My name is Mary Elizabeth Ellis.
My name is Katie Aselton.
You're watching TV on the radio, but you're not watching it, you're listening to it, because radio on TV.
Hi, T Radio V.
Keep that radio going inside that television set.
I love T Radio V. Trust her.
T Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
'Cause if you don't, there will be no reason for.
Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of reason, known as Zoe Williams, has returned to the Zoe What Morning Show on T Radio V. That's radio in TV. We are talking about what Hillary Clinton talked about when she said black men are super predators. And I had to have this conversation because I think the tolerance of teachers are very short when it comes to black boys. I know that because I was one of those kids that was labeled before ADHD. I was hyper. Oh, he's hyper, Miss Williams. He's hyper. But they didn't deal with me in a way where it's like, let's give him medicine. Right?
That's a strap. Oh, maybe you didn't, but...
No. Well, my mother had a different plan. She was like, oh, he's too big for me to whoop him now. I'm going to have his Karl Malone-built brother step through as the enforcer. So there was something in place that made me straighten up and act right because Dad was absent. But the Karl Malone bro was right there like, nah, you not just finna run roughshod all over this place. And I think I did okay.
No, you did far better than okay. If you would just allow me 1 minute before we go to Veronica, because I'm really interested in what she did to, direct her children away from that medication. The school system and by default, the community is just as responsible for us losing control of our children with respect to them being just bombarded with all this medication, because we should have never, ever allowed them to prescript to these kids as early as 5 and 6 years old. There's no way you should have kids on medication at that age, man. No way.
Well, we let them have a different kind of medicine back in the day. I remember back in the day, the other medicine that was allowed was, you can whoop my son. That was medicine too.
The best kind for the times.
But now it's, no, you
yeah.
can't whoop my son.
Yeah. That's off the table.
That's off the table now. Veronica, we need to know the magic that the unicorn laid down. We're going to get out of the way. How did you navigate, especially during these times, how did you navigate your son away from, oh, he's special ed, oh, he needs medication? How did you get him away from that?
Yeah. Okay, so let me talk about it in two phases, because it really was two phases for him. So understand that the autism spectrum is a spectrum of behavior, right? And it goes up everywhere. It goes all the way from autism to what I'm going to call, at the lower end of the spectrum, there's something called auditory deficit, auditory processing deficits, and sensory defensiveness. What that basically means, and that's what my son had, is that, and it looks like ADD. It's on the spectrum. It looks like ADD, and we know that black boys are most likely to be on that spectrum, the autism spectrum these days. Some people say it's because of vaccinations. I don't really have an opinion on that. But my son was on the spectrum for auditory processing deficits. So what that means is he could hear, and this was at a very young age, but he couldn't have those instructions go into his auditory system, have him go reach his brain, and have him be able to execute and implement on the instructions that he heard. Also, he would get what's called auditorily overwhelmed. So that means if he was in an environment, he couldn't filter. He would filter in everything at once. There was no priority in his mind about noise. So if you took him somewhere loud, he'd get overwhelmed auditorily. So he couldn't follow instructions. He couldn't process his world. So the first thing that we did was we put him on what's called Simonis sound therapy. And Simonis sound therapy is a sound therapy. It's a very specialized therapy. You have to have a certified practitioner do it. And he was about to apply to private schools, and they caught it, and they said he's about a year behind developmentally. When they tested him, they're testing him for kindergarten at a private school. So we put him on Simonis sound therapy for a year. Within a week of going on Simonis sound therapy, whereas because of his issues, he couldn't process the letter B, the letter A, the letter T. He couldn't sequence them together. Within a week or two, he was like reading like the Wall Street Journal. He could read everything because what the sound therapy did was it unlocked neural pathways in the brain for certain behaviors. So now he advanced 2.5 years in a year developmentally because of Simonis sound therapy. Okay, so that's one phase. So I think, so there's one thing I want to say about that. I think that a lot of kids that are diagnosed ADHD are actually somewhere on the spectrum, and they have things like auditory processing deficits, which look like ADHD, but they're misdiagnosed, and then they get medicated. So that's one thing. Let me give you part two because it's important.
Go ahead.
So when he was a little bit older. Yep, go ahead.
No, I was saying, go ahead. You got it.
Okay. So part two, so when he got to be about 5th grade, he started having some challenges again. So he got into private schools. He got a lot of one-on-one attention. We kept him on Simonis sound therapy. He was very high-functioning in a very demanding private elementary school environment. Then in 5th grade, he started to have some challenges again in terms of, so the school, again, the private school had him tested. They said it's ADHD, and they wanted to medicate him. This was in May. I was a co-owner at the time. I was launching a company that dealt with distance energy. And all that means is that it's kind of like XM radio. XM radio, there's a satellite in the sky. if you send a signal to somebody that has a subscription, they'll get this energy signal. I was building a company at the time that dealt with in radionics and distant energy healing. We put my son on that. And the school was pushing me. It was a private school. He was on a full scholarship. They were pushing me to put him on medication. We put him on radionics instead. What the guy that administered the protocol of radionics said to me is, we think of disease as being, it's like diseases in the brain and then it goes out. What it really is, if you look at it from an energy standpoint, disease is in the auric field, in the aura around you, and there's distortion in that field, and that makes its way down into the brain and body. So he was targeting the field with his machine. He found the distortion in Jake's field, targeted that. Jake came back in September after we did that. We didn't put him on medication. He became a self-taught virtuoso piano player over the summer. Literally sat down on YouTube and taught himself 20 very complex songs. Went back to the people that diagnosed him, and they couldn't find any evidence of anything that he has. He's had zero learning issues since. He scored 2320 on the SATs. Oh. He's about as smart as a kid that you can imagine. He has completely redirected and changed his life. But it took me listening at a different level and listening at it from the standpoint of energy and not medication.
I'm gonna say this real quick, and I'm gonna throw it to Bobby. Normal is dangerous as fuck in America, and everybody is shooting for normal. Everybody is shooting to have what everybody else has, so they could be seen as normal. The average mom would not have looked at these alternative methods to help her son and avoid medication, and look at the success. 2330 on the SAT. Is that what you said? 2330.
Yeah, with no prep, no. My daughter had to do prep to do SATs, right?
Wow.
He just breezed through it. 3.0 at a top college, prep school. He's brilliant, and all it meant was unlocking both energetically and then in his neural pathways. It meant that the ability was there. What these two technologies did was they unlocked the latent, dormant ability and de-scrambled all the stuff in his brain and in his field. And when we did that, it was game over.
So look,
he's kind of superhuman. He's not a super predator. He's actually kind of superhuman. He's that brilliant.
Okay, so when we come back, you're going to give us more information and resources on how to connect people with that. And Bobby had something to say really quickly.
Yeah.
A few years ago, well, actually in the 90s, I did some consulting work and fundraising for the Marcus Garvey School here in Los Angeles. At the time, it was considered the #1 African-American school in the country.
Yeah.
And what I found so fascinating and inspiring about that experience was half of the student population had been put out of LAUSD for behavioral problems, labeled, retarded and what have you. And I, with my own 2 eyes, watched within 3 months wave after wave of kids go from being dumb and stupid to just
genius.
3 and 4 grade levels ahead, simply because of the expectation, the nurturing, and the belief that children can learn.
And listen, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to deal with the perception of the thug. We're going to deal with this. Now, understand, the shit you just explained, the shit that Veronica just explained, our little girls are in class watching the treatment of the little boys. Are the little girls not modeling what they're seeing? If the little boy is 5 times likely to be kicked out of school than any other ethnic group or gender, what is she learning how to do with him? When we come back. Yeah, thank you, Bobby. Hey, indigestion, my niggas. We'll be back at 2.2 So What Morning.
I'm both trained in school psychology as well as clinical psychology. So when I present today, I'll be coming from both paradigms, both angles, both specialties, but I will discern or delineate the two so you guys will be able to follow my work. There's a tendency for parents to put all of psychology under the same umbrella. All of psychology doesn't go under the same umbrella. You got to recognize that school psychology is different from clinical psychology. For example, ADHD. ADHD, one of the most popular labels, probably the most popular label for black boys in America, even more popular than the learning disability. ADHD is not a special ed disability. ADHD is a clinical disorder. It is a mental illness. It's not special ed. But a lot of children end up in special ed for ADHD because the parents, you guys, like telling the school all of your business. And that's one of the first things I want to kind of impress upon you. You have to stop telling your family business to teachers and to schools. Schools are not on your side and they are not your friend. And you need to understand that, okay? The only way a child can be put in special education for ADHD is if the parent makes the school aware that the child has been diagnosed with ADHD. So if you say my son is in special ed for ADHD, I know that that's because you talk too much. They could not have put him in special ed unless you told him, because we do not diagnose ADHD in the school. ADHD is not a special ed disorder. Conduct disorder is not special ed. Oppositional defiant disorder is not special ed. Those are mental illnesses. They get diagnosed outside of school. In school, diagnoses, or what we call special ed, are the prerogative of school psychology. And there's only 13 of those. Now, mental disorders come out of this book. This is the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So ADHD comes out of this book. But this book is not special ed. This book is not school psychology. This book is clinical psychology. This is your depressions, your bipolars, your borderlines, your ADHDs, your schizophrenia, mental illness. There's over 400 of these, but special ed is only 13. What are the 13 special ed disabilities? And we'll go through them. The first one, and they're in no order, the learning disability. The learning disability is the most popular diagnosis in special education. The learning disability is the greatest weapon of mass destruction against black children. The learning disability comes in 8 types. 8 types. You can no longer just be LD. You must be LD in one of 8 areas. Basic reading skill, reading fluency, reading comprehension. Basic reading skill, can your child decode words? Can they break words down? Do they have word attack skills? Reading fluency, can your child read smoothly? Can they read at the rate of conversational language? Reading comprehension, can your child pull meaning from the words he's reading? Can he read a paragraph and understand what the paragraph is saying? If you don't have basic reading skill, you don't become fluent. You don't read smoothly. If you don't read smoothly, you never learn how to comprehend. Comprehension is built on fluency, and fluency is built on skill. And then you have math reasoning, the child's ability to determine the appropriate math operation to perform and then to perform it. Reasoning, your child has to think to determine, what do I do with this information to get the answer? Math reasoning. Black children struggle with math reasoning because they don't like to think. And schools don't help because most subjects in school do not require you to think. They only require you to memorize and regurgitate. That's one of the reasons why math and science is such a challenge for our children. Number one, they're lazy. Number two, you don't push them. And number three, the schools, okay, do not make them think. Most subjects you can get an A, straight A's in school, and never think, because school isn't about thinking. School is about being taught how to think. It's an indoctrination system, not an intellectual system, and we got to understand that. So you have math reasoning, and then you have math calculations. Can the child add, subtract, divide, multiply? Basic math, okay? Then you have written expression. Can your child write effectively? And then we have oral expression. Can your child speak effectively, okay, without stuttering or anything like that, without losing their track of thought. And then you have listening comprehension. Can your child understand what is being said, assuming they're fluent in the English language? Okay? So those are the 8 types of one disability, the learning disability. 8 types. Okay? So if you tell me your child has a learning disability, my next question is which one? And most of us don't know. Those are 8.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
I'm Laura Samoza.
I'm Sterling Gardner.
And we are Between the Sheets every Monday here, 3 p.m., tradiov.com.
T Radio V.
That's right, it's T Radio V, radio in TV. What is that face?
He wants to see our hands.
That's radio in TV. Wah, 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 wah.
We're not a couple.
Hey, my fellow thoughters out there. I'm Charles Shaughnessy. Check out my new show, Here's a Thought with Charles Shaughnessy, August the 7th, 3 p.m. PST, right here on T Radio V. Now, you know I have a lot to say, but I want to hear what you have to say. So tune in, grab your phones, call me, tweet me, email me in the studio, and let's get this conversation going. Here's a Thought, starting August the 7th, 3 p.m. PST, right here on T Radio V. That's radio in TV.
Hey geeks, wake up! We got big news. I'm not gonna mumble this time. Geekscape, the long-running movie video game. Let me do one more. Hey geeks, we got big news! Geekscape, your favorite show about movies, video games, comics, and TV, is coming to T Radio V Monday, October 6th. And it'll be on every Monday from then on, 7 p.m. Until the apocalypse happens, we're all eaten by zombies.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
The former First Lady, Nancy Reagan, fell off the mortal coil yesterday, and the violins began to play. It reminded me once again how important controlling the narrative truly is. Political and social accountability is absent in this age of demagoguery. Demagoguery is the word I was searching for.
Demagoguery!
That's the one. And fascism. Facts have given way to fiction, and the fears of people are manifested in order to divert attention away from the root causes of human suffering, especially for poor blacks, browns, and those dumbass poor white folks. The absence of political and social acceptability only fuels the flames of frustration. Don't hold your nose and vote for politicians that you cannot relate to or cannot relate to you. We are not in a position any longer to just go in that voter's booth and pull that lever and then go back to sleep. You be done woke up dead. The problem that we have right now is not just who to vote for, but why are we voting for them? If they're not in a position to meet our basic needs, then we need to recalibrate the political process and hold people accountable before, during, and after elections.
How about it? I like that rant. What's happening, Bobby?
I got something for him.
See, Bobby be going off on me because I be speaking all eloquently, and he be like, falling asleep, nodding, and, what? I didn't know what you was talking about, so I went to sleep. He said demagoguery. Bobby's
tripped
an
over that.
eloquent motherfucker now. People don't know that.
That's why I had to turn that language in. But see, while we're on the subject of education, it does form a common mind, and when the twig is bent, the tree inclines. And a lot of times in our communities, we have separated the education from the educators. And sometimes the educator is that wino on the corner.
They don't even know that, though.
All right.
Come on now.
Some of the smartest people I ever met have not finished school, but what they have done through their demonstration of education is show you what to do and what not to do. I remember we were the first group of kids that went to an integrated school. And because we didn't have textbooks when we were in the elementary school that was segregated, that were comparable to the books that the other kids had, the first test that we took, we assumed that we were just dumb because we had never seen any of that material. So the buy-in a lot of times is, what have you been exposed to?
Right.
And then what were the teachers like? Did they believe in you?
Right.
Did they tell you, look, I'm not accepting failure?
How many teachers out there are crushing the hopes of kids because they can't keep up with the pace? And if you know, like I know, teachers tend to turn their back on kids who are not properly represented by parents. You understand what I'm saying? They'll be like, oh, he ain't got nobody here to defend or fight for him. I can't worry about him. I know whenever I showed up on campus, they knew it was war and they didn't want to see me there. So they made sure they went above and beyond the call of duty. I said, where's that cupboard with all of the special gifts and tools and resources you have for other motherfuckers? Make sure my kids get that. And when I did that, they knew, like, okay, we not messing with Mr. Williams. We don't want him on campus because he gonna bang on us.
You made a powerful point, and Doc talked about it during our break, and that is the absence of fathers. I know a lot of men that were uneducated that sent kids not only to school but through school to advanced degrees and successful careers and self-determination. So as we begin to try to put this whole thing back together to the point where we have some kind of society that thrives and produces people who are self-reliant and contributors as opposed to predators in society, we do have to look at what's missing in the equation.
Right.
And make sure that we address that post-haste.
We should. And let me promote this really quickly. The last video when we went to commercial break was of a brother that I highly respect, Dr. Umar Johnson, right? And he has a book that you should get, Psycho-Academic Holocaust, the Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys, written in 2013 by this brother, Dr. Umar Johnson. Now, you got a lot of people out there who want to say sideways shit about Dr. Umar Johnson. My thing is, I look at Umar Johnson in the same way I look at Kobe. Now, everybody want to talk about personal shit and shit he did off the floor. I don't know nothing about the man's personal life and can give two shakes of a fat rat's ass about it. All I care about is the player you are on the floor. Now, Kobe, as a player on the floor, just top 5, top 3.
No.
Best player ever.
Top 20, maybe.
Okay, stop, Bobby. But this brother, Dr. Umar Johnson, when you get that book and you read that information, this man knows his information. He knows something that could be of use to your family, that could be of use to the black family. So what I do is promote what he does, and as a man, I stay the hell out of his business.
May I just add one quick caveat, because I don't want to dominate the show.
But you're doing it.
I'm
we got callers on the line waiting.
I'm going to be very, very brief.
Okay,
then.
Bobby, shit.
That applies, and we need to do that, but we have to be inclusive when we look at the overall problem. ADHD, or the notion of it, has dumbed this country down to the point where we got a lot of dumb white people that are dangerous to themselves and to society. So we have to be a little more inclusive in the conversation when we talk about ADHD or anything that actually affects all of us.
Doc?
I want to talk something about the absent father thing, because fathers supply something that mothers can't. And I think... Zoe, I think you're a great dad, and here's one of the distinctions. A great dad really really believes in who his children could be, which motivates them to do what they should be. And and you can be a present dad who doesn't believe in your kids or what they could be, and you harangue them, and they're not motivated to make you look successful as a dad. So I think absence is not necessarily the geography; it's the way you interact with them. And I have sort of a personal story because I had a dad who had his issues, and so I'm not sure he believed in me, and I hit a wall in med school. Some of you know about that. And what happened is my mind just stopped, and in my mind I thought, I'm only worth anything according to what I can do. If I can't do anything, I'm not worth anything. I may not even be worth being here. And what happened is there was a dean of students who saw something in me that I couldn't, and what he said to me. So I came from that background where no one believed in what I could be. It was you should, and I think it broke me in some ways. And what happened is, and the school wanted to kick me out because they're also grading you on what you should be doing, and I just wasn't doing anything. And so he reached in when I kind of fell apart, and he said, "You don't have to do anything or become anything for me to be proud of you, because you have goodness in you, and the world needs that goodness. But you need to live to be 35 so you believe what I'm telling you." And something switched inside me. It just flipped a switch because all I thought I was capable of was nothing.
Wow.
And so if I thought I was capable of nothing, that means I was nothing. And when he saw something that I certainly didn't see, and so I think this gets back to I think the incredible negative power of absent or negative fathers. And you know, I really compliment you, Zoe, because it's clear how much you believe in your kids and what they could be, and I think that's a big missing element in absent parents.
Wow. Listen, we got a caller on the line. This is a brother I met up with in Sacramento. This brother is a teacher, and his brother is the principal of a charter school, if I'm getting this correct. I was trying to catch up with your brother. I wanted your brother on too, man. Can you speak to some of the issues that we're trying to cover right now? ADHD, the super predator, how the school labels, medicates, all that. Talk to us about this, man.
Hello.
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
Good to hear from you again.
Good, man. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Just real quick, we know that we cannot teach students that we do not love and respect and they do not understand. And these teachers are far, far from the reality of these students. There's a current school district in which I work at where they were slapped with the Office of Civil Rights for not allowing Afro, quote-unquote, African-American students into higher education. And we see that as well as the teachers do not represent the public or the demographics of these students. As an educator and as an administrator, I've noticed it is quite frequently that teachers recommend these students into special education and not looking at the other 6 intelligences. If a student, like it was said earlier, has a linguistic learning disability or issues with linguistic or mathematical situations, they don't look at the spatial learners or the kinesthetic, and they only look for one style. And what I have seen is this tends to be a control issue with teachers doing their job because they're working a 9 to 5, and they're not all the time looking forward to help all our children. And so it becomes a control issue. And what I really see is emasculating our young boys to think and to challenge the questions. Many teachers do not feel it is their responsibility to answer the question, why do I have to learn this? Why is this important to me for? Which I think makes a big difference. And to answer the question, the father of ADHD, Leon Eisenberg, was born in 1922. And at the age of 87, 7 months before he died, in the interview,
said it wasn't real.
The ADHD is a prime example of a fictitious disease. We say we have heart diseases, but yet there's many symptoms that could lead up to the heart diseases. And so we have like Lamar Johnson very eloquently, articulately broke that down as far as, how to get them out. But I want parents, I know I don't want to take up much time, but I want parents to walk away from this. When you get a child into special education or an IEP, what tends to happen is their grades are modified and their transcripts go forward, and they are not qualified for higher schools and so forth because it shows that they had a modified grade. And those modified grades do not allow them to get normal candidacy into a college. So I just wanted to drop some of those things because these classes with ADHD kids, if you go to the classes on any campus, everybody knows who these kids are. It's the ones where kids are flying in and out of the classroom, running around yelling. And back to what the doctor said, teaching needs to be more stimulating. Well, I'm a brother, I be teaching, and I feel like I'm BET. If I'm not BET performing 24/7 for entertaining purposes, students are not engaged. They don't want to be engaged. And I think it has to do with their overall culture, as well as there's some smaller things with that home. A good book was Brain Wars that talks about the quiet space where our kids need some time to meditate and to grow their gray brain matter. And they made a connection with the dysfunctional home and not allowing people to have their brains healed formally. And as well as Juwanza Kanjufu wrote some books on this, keep the black boys out of special education as black students, middle-class teachers. And one of the things he mentioned, like Veronica mentioned earlier, was how to cure your son or your children. One of them, why don't we have them go to bed at a decent hour, as well as their diet? So the diets are very huge in this ADHD, and I do think that there are some cases where people do have some extreme abnormalities. However, I do see it labeling our students, and then these students buy into these labels. They don't have these. They don't have the efficiency and the wherewithal to do this. They think they have a label on them, and they just go ahead and pass on by while sucking on Jolly Ranchers, sporting Jordans, but not doing any homework or doing anything that they need to be done, and which is academically shown on their report cards that is marked as a modified grade. So, yes, I just want to say, yes, I do see that, and please read Juwanza Kanjufu's books, because he also hits upon this about 2005, 2010. He wrote some of these books.
Perfect. Hey, brother.
And Nehesu from Sacramento.
Man, tell him your name again and tell him what it means. This is one of the good brothers, man. As soon as I saw this brother, he came up to me and said, man, the work y'all doing is real. We out here in these streets, we support what y'all doing. Please say your name again, brother, and tell him what it means.
Oh, yes, my brother. My name is Nehesu Nag Negus El. I am a indigenous American, quote-unquote, Moor, not Negro, colored, or black. And the Nehesu has to do with the first gods out of the book of Ma'at as Ra's children. And then the Nag has to do with the serpent of being wise and wisdom, what you see on the Pharaoh's headdresses. And like Jesus said, be wise as a serpent. Wasn't the snake, and it goes in the Garden of Eden. The snake actually talked to the woman and said, you ain't going to die. He actually was right. And then Negus, we also know as being a king. So my appellation, and El is a force of God, so my appellation has to do with the wise kings will once again rule or are the rulers of this earth. And hopefully, again, we'll be put in our proper place as great contributors to humanity and society. Peace, love.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zoe.
I had to get that brother in here. That's an educator. That man is in the classroom putting in the work every day.
One of the things that he touched on is the classroom itself and the expectation that children come into the classroom with, as well as the environment that is created for them. I've taught the American curriculum, the life management skills curriculum from Jim Brown's program for a few years now. And one of the first things that we try to accomplish is to get kids to take responsibility for themselves. And therefore, it's important for them to understand the relevancy of an education. A lot of times we send kids to school and they really don't connect to why they're there. And then sometimes you have to break it down to the most basic levels and let them know that if you really want to get out into this world and have the things that you desire from this life, you're going to have to construct a pathway to get them.
Dr. G?
Yeah, something I proposed to the LAUSD, but I don't think it got very far, was replace this "No Child Left Behind" with every high school graduate career ready.
Oh.
And the idea is, and I don't know how we get this done, but you all can do this in your communities. Create town hall meetings where you bring in the the CEOs or the presidents of companies, where all you need is a high school education, a college education. They would come in a heartbeat, organize it, and then what they say is, if you have these skills or these ability to learn these skills, I will hire you, and within 3 years, this is what you'll be earning.
Wow.
And I think that would be so simple. And because a lot of times what kids, and I felt that, what do I need to learn this? I'll never use it. What do I need this for? And then you have to convince them it's good for you.
Yeah.
And I think we could do that. We could turn that around if we could just get people organized around that.
All right. I appreciate that.
They used to call it vocational training.
Yeah. I remember vocational training.
Absolutely.
I remember that. Listen, we got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to conclude the So What Morning Show, but this is a serious topic.
Well, we need to do a part 2.
Definitely. This is a serious topic, man. So we'll be back at 2.2 with more information on the black male super predator.
No more references to Kobe Bryant, please. Thank you.
I knew you was you can't help yourself.
You snuck that in on me, man.
Of black kids in schools as early as kindergarten, black boys and black girls, it is a significant issue. And we've heard for years what happens when it comes to our boys and girls being diagnosed with ADHD, and teachers and administrators saying they don't know how to deal with all of these kids, what in the world is going on. So the real question is it a problem with educators, not just teachers, but also administrators and the school district, or is it the actual problem with our kids? Well, educator and school psychologist Dr. Umar Johnson says one way the schools deal with perceived bad behavior is to diagnose and medicate students for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. In fact, recent studies show that there's a 70% increase of ADHD identification for black kids. Black boys are diagnosed at a higher rate than any other student. So what in the world is going on? Are our kids the problem? He joins us right now, Umar Johnson, the author of the book, Psychoacademic Holocaust, Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys. Dr. Johnson, when did this really start?
ADHD as a diagnosis came to us in 1980 with the DSM-3. It was ADD. And then in 1987, they added the H. It became ADHD. And when it became ADHD, it opened up a vacuum that allowed for nearly every child to be diagnosed and prescribed medication, because previously it was just attention deficit. Once they added the word hyper, it opened up the opportunity for medication.
And what I'm trying to understand is, and again, look, I'm not a doctor, whether it's psychologist, psychoanalyst, medical doctor, but a 7 or 8 year old kid being hyper, I'm just okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that's called being a 7 or 8 year old kid.
It's normal childhood behavior. There's a couple issues here, Roland. Number one, 97% of all public school teachers, charter, independent school teachers are female. Yeah. So you have to look at the female culture of the schoolhouse and how when boys cannot adjust adequately to female expectations, they are marginalized. When you look at the criteria for ADHD, losing things necessary to get your work done, not being able to pay attention, blurting out answers, having excessive energy, that's normal male child behavior. But when you come to school, you're kind of expected not to engage in traditional male types of behaviors. And if you do, you become stigmatized. And then in comes the drug companies, the manufacturers of all these popular anti-stimulant medications who pay for a lot of the teacher conferences. They're fueling the overdiagnosis. They also fund significantly the American Psychological and the American Psychiatric Association. So a lot of this is about money. It's not about treatment.
So if you're a parent out there, you're watching this and hearing this, I mean, how do you combat that when that is constantly coming at you about your child?
Education. Number one, parents need to know that in the school, we do not diagnose ADHD. ADHD is not a special education disability. Now, my doctorate is in clinical, but I'm a school psychologist. I go between both worlds. You don't diagnose ADHD in the school.
Mentally, I find myself falling deep inside your vibe.
Health impairment.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Hello, T Radio V.
Hello for us.
Hi, guys. My name is Steve Ranazizi.
My name is Mary Elizabeth Ellis.
My name is Katie Azelton.
You're watching TV on the radio, but you're not watching it, you're listening to it, because radio on TV.
Hi, T Radio V.
Keep that radio going inside that television set.
I love T Radio V.
Trust her.
T Radio V. Radio in TV.
Radio in TV.
I'm Zoe Williams.
And I'm Dr. Mark Goulston.
I'm Jeff Brown.
And we make up the Zoe What Morning Show. You can find us here on TRadiov.com every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I make you think.
He makes you laugh, and if I get a chance, I'll help you change.
Or make you cry with his attempts at humor.
Radio in TV.
Can you relate? We'll make it happen.
Look at you. What you doing?
Were you mumbling to yourself?
Hey, back there mumbling.
To them.
Hi, I'm Bob Nalbandian, and be sure to watch my show Inside Metal, which airs live every Tuesday from 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on T Radio V. I'm going to be bringing in the greatest heavy metal artists live right here in the studio. Once again, every week at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, every Tuesday, right here at TRadiov.com, Radio in TV.
Hi kids, Billy Francesca here for my brand new show at T Radio V, Advice from an Idiot, every Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific Time. So please call in and get some advice from someone who knows absolutely nothing about everything.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
I mean, really, man. That's
Bobby, man. Let me set up the show for you. Come on, Bobby.
Go on.
Bobby said, kiss my ass. I'm sorry, man. Bobby he couldn't handle
commercials.
the commercials.
That's the time when I wish I was ADHD. I wish I could forget that ever came on, man. Lord have mercy. Whew.
Listen, we're talking about the super predator. That, as a matter of fact, you have the little clip. I want to play the clip of Hillary Clinton right now. This motherfucker has the audacity to say this kind of shit.
Not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
Bring them to heel. Ha! No conscience, no empathy. Let me tell you what no conscience and no empathy is for real. I'm going to show up here, and there are people already here that been here for thousands of years. I'm going to say, we discovered this shit even though you live in here. Not only am I going to say that, I'm going to rely on you to help me survive, and then when I don't need you no more, I'm not really going to acknowledge the fact that it was you who was who was the key to my survival here in America. I'm going to kill you off with smallpox and fucked up blankets and diseases and shit. I don't give a fuck. Then we're going to start racism. We're going to start slavery. We're going to participate in slavery. This was a penal colony. This was like Australia. This was a fucking penal colony. You want to talk about thugs and terrorists, and you're not going to put yourself as number one? Okay, we're going to free the niggas. Okay, we got to free the niggas now. Okay. The shit ain't cool no more. The North is doing some different things. The industrial industry is coming in. We can't just rely on free labor and slaves and cotton and shit no more. Okay, we got to do something different. But when we free you, we don't want you to be under any false ideas that you can vote. So we're going to create the KKK. Okay? The first terrorist group in the world. These niggas. Okay? KKK, yes, they're niggas. The KKK, let's put on these hoods like they did in the south of France, the Catholics, right? When they put on the hoods of the Order of Seville. Let's do that, right? Then after we do that, we're going to do Jim Crow. Fuck it. No more slavery, but Jim Crow. We're going to legislate slavery. See, come on. How in the fucking world, the audacity to call anybody. First, I'm going to create every situation, circumstance, and I'm going to be the impetus and the reason behind why you would have a Crips and Bloods. Right? I'm going to make education some bullshit because I really don't want you to know what I know. Because if you knew what I know, you'd be in my position. Yeah? Fuck that. Knowledge is really the real currency. I'm not trying to give you any of that. I'm going to create all of these situations and circumstances and then say, pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
One quick note, Doc.
Is that not terrorism?
The thing that troubled me the most about that Hillary Clinton is the fact that she bypassed everything that you just narrated, Zoe, and overlooked the most important thing about those people, those so-called predatory folk. They are people, first and foremost, and everybody that's ever been born and had any semblance of a brain wanted the same thing, and that's to be loved and cared for. And the minute you don't get that nutrition, then you become and you spawn all of the things that she alluded to. But guess what? That ain't the real problem. The problem is, how did they get that way? And what do you do to transform those folks?
Right.
Well, that's why I want to weigh in with something I've said, every few months or something. I think part of what you were ranting about, Zoe, is that whites are afraid of black retaliation because if whites were treated the way blacks have been treated, they would believe you got to retaliate against us. And so we're not going to give you the ability to do it better. And so until whites really acknowledge the fact that we have predated your predatory instincts by treating you the way we have, and then saying you're out to get us, well, if you hadn't put us in this corner and disempowered us and gave us kind of false freedoms that we could not exercise, then we wouldn't be in this place. And by the way, we're not as angry as you think we are. You don't have to be that afraid of us. We're just frustrated because, you sold us that this is the land of the free, and we have been anything but free forever.
Wow. Veronica Conway.
Yeah, I would say that black people are as angry as y'all think we are. We're just not as murderous as you've been, as white folks have been. That's all.
Say more about that.
Not to y'all. We're murderers to each other because we have internalized our racism. We have internalized our oppression. We're plenty angry, and we're walking around repressed. Functionally, but
why are you murderous towards each other?
We've been trained by white fragility. In other words, one of the things that I really noticed in sort of the political landscape and the zeitgeist is the minute a white person feels the slightest bit of threat, the slightest, you look at the feedback from the Beyonce thing, right? When she did the Super Bowl thing, the slightest bit of threat, and white folks are hypersensitive, hyperfragile, right? So we are angry. It's just that we don't tend to act out our anger in the violent, murderous way that white folks do, at least cross culturally.
Why do you do it against each other?
Because I think that David Banner said it best. It's like black people. It's the same reason the police devalue lives. It's the same reason that black people devalue lives. I think we're highly susceptible to programming. I think we're highly susceptible to conditioning, both spiritually, socially, subconsciously. I think we're highly susceptible to that, and so we have been trained to hate ourselves. And that gets made manifest in our relationships. It gets made manifest, with black men having no options and having to direct their anger and their masculinity somewhere. They have to direct their testosterone somewhere.
Well, Frantz Fanon put it best when he said the oppressed take on the worst characteristics of the oppressors.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
that kind of just sums up to answer that question. But, there's a lot of mythical stuff associated with the white man. First of all, he's flesh and blood, and he's terribly flawed. And he's going through a slump right now that's unprecedented to the point where they're acting more like niggas than we do, politically speaking.
Yeah.
I've never seen this many dumb white people acting like niggas, and especially calling themselves Republicans and conservatives, and now they're talking about genitalia and all kind of foolishness. You know, I mean, this is some interesting times we living in. Since we talking about ADD, I think they done came down with it their damn self.
Man, listen, Doc, every aspect of American life has been touched by American politics. And when American politics is in play, you know American big business is in play. You can't have American politics without American business, right?
And the dope game is strong right now.
So when we talk about the big pharma, we did that show. When we talk
you can't
about,
help it. It's everywhere.
Listen, it all interlocks. Big pharma, privatized prisons, education. You know what we're actually outlining right now? Nobody would say this, but now's the time to say it. We're actually outlining the building blocks of white supremacy.
You know, Dr. Umar mentioned.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, say more about that.
The building blocks of white supremacy. I just said knowledge, real knowledge, not that shit they teach you in school. As Dr. Umar said, education in school is an indoctrination system. This is why the ones with the best memories have the best grades. It doesn't really teach you knowledge of self, self-awareness. It doesn't really teach you how to be intellectual. It teaches you how to remember, how to recall, right? And then you're remembering and recalling at a particular pace. You don't keep up with that pace, you fall off, you're special ed. You see? Again, when you look at the people who suffer the most from this type of system, what do they look like? Who do they look like? Do they look like white Americans? Right? And then the end result, the same companies that are hiring people to give your kids their lunch is the same company that hire the people that give inmates their lunch. There's a trail leading from your school failure to your new resident in a privatized prison.
Well, they administer drugs in both places. Like in the penitentiary, they pass out meds all day long.
Yeah,
just like they do in school. They do.
This is a cold situation, Doc.
So what would be a way of, and Veronica, you need to tell people the resources that you use with your child.
Oh, definitely.
You need to emphasize that. Give us links. Give us, maybe we can put them up. So let's say people are acting up, and they won't listen, and they won't listen to anyone. They won't listen to reason, and you sort of see.
I don't blind it. They will listen. We just have lost control.
I'm not talking about the blacks. I'm talking about the whites. I'm talking about everyone. Yeah, period. Yeah.
In an education setting, when they allowed all these other regulations to get in the way of a teacher setting certain rules, because ADD is not as important as ADA, average daily attendance. Mm-hmm. They just want you to show up. They don't need you to learn anything necessarily. They need you to show up, and then after a certain portion of the day, they don't care if you skip school. They don't really care if you learn anything, but they need you to show up. So we have to look at what school is right now. It's not designed really to produce scholars. It's a process to accumulate money to keep the school open. It's not to educate kids.
Doc?
I've said this before many times. People don't do what's important. They do what they care about. And so what needs to happen so our young care about getting educated? You can tell them it's important. You can even make a case, well, if you don't get educated, you're going to have less of a job, yada, yada, yada. So what needs to happen? What experience, and Veronica weigh in, what experience do they need to have? Maybe talk about your own son.
Yeah.
What do they need to have so they're motivated to get educated, that they care enough about it?
Veronica, this is Zoe.
Yeah.
Hold on one second, because I want to answer that question really quickly. Doc, I think that's a great question, but I think it gets away from the ultimate question. The ultimate question is, when will white people take responsibility for the system they built? It's easy to say, how can we motivate children? How can we get kids to want to participate? It's easy to put it on the kid. It's easy to say, okay, let's find a way to motivate you to want to participate in a broken system. But I think the harder thing to say is, we set this system up the way it is. We want it to be this way.
You triggered an even bigger question. How do you get people to take responsibility for their actions and for their lives anywhere? How do you get people to take responsibility as opposed to flipping it externally and making themselves a victim and then waiting for someone else to do it for them? How do you get people to take responsibility for their lives?
Well, just remember, being a victim, like this is the thing. Sometimes we can shame a victim for having gone through some shit, right? We could shame them like, you should have been let that go. You should. What are you doing? Why are you carrying this around? Right now, all of a sudden, you identify with being a victim. But we first have to go back and say, what are your reasons for doing this? What are your reasons? And if you have valid reasons, then we have to say, we need to find a way to help you get over this. White people ain't doing that. White people know they are the impetus for that.
And they're not gonna.
And they're not going to. So what do we have to do is what? I'm interested to know. I have my idea, but I'm interested to know. Veronica?
Are you asking me? Yeah. So here's, I can't, this is what I did, right? Because even though I understand.
You got 2 minutes, Veronica. Go ahead.
Predicament and even though I understand the predicament and the conundrum that we've been placed in by our victimization, I had to make a conscious decision not to be a victim of anything. So so there's two things I think that go along with healing. We have to fully understand the full onslaught and the brunt and the impact of what's been done to us. And then we have to let white folks go in the sense that they are not going to rescue us. They have violent predispositions towards us, and they don't mean us well on the whole, with few exceptions. There's some exceptions. But on the whole, their self-preservation, what they perceive as their self-preservation trumps everything. So I would say that psychologically, we have to wean ourselves off their tit, expecting them to do anything for us. Now, that being said, when I put my kids in private schools, right, and got them a $1.2 million in private school education for $25,000, that they were in white environments. So, but I held white people accountable for educating my kids brilliantly, even though in private schools they're going to do that. You have to put your kids into an environment where expectation and excellence and becoming superhuman are the norm and are the expectation. So my messaging was no different than this. Then the school's messaging was no different than the messaging of the people that I put around my kids. So there was an assumption in the environment. And if you've got to fire people around you that ain't on board that assumption, then you fire them.
There it is.
That he would be the best. And I think, because my ex-husband did not participate in this, he undermined it actively. I would say that men, it's a call to arms to black men to stand up and partner with women and model expectation in the environment. In other words, it's incumbent upon our black men not to say, well, we've been victimized, so we're not going to aspire. It's incumbent upon our black men to say, because we've been victimized, we're going to kick y'all's ass competitively, and we're going to show you the truth, and we're going to model it for our kids, and we're going to partner with our women to do it. That's what you need to do.
Thank you, Veronica. I appreciate that. That was good shit. These guys are rushing me right now. We got to get to the final thought. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's good shit. Let's get it.
Veronica.
You got it?
Thank you.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
I'm Laura Somoza.
I'm Sterling Gardner.
And we are Between the Sheets every Monday here, 3 p.m., TRadioV.com.
T Radio V.
That's right. It's T Radio V, radio in TV. What is that face?
He wants to see our hands.
That's radio. In. T. V.
Wah, 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 wah. We're not a couple.
Hey, my fellow thoughters out there. I'm Charles Shaughnessy. Check out my new show, Here's a Thought, with Charles Shaughnessy, August the 7th, 3 p.m. PST, right here on T Radio V. Now, you know I have a lot to say, but I want to hear what you have to say. So tune in, grab your phones, call me, tweet me, email me in the studio, and let's get this conversation going. Here's a Thought, starting August the 7th, 3 p.m. PST, right here on T Radio V. That's radio in TV.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Okay, I'm back. And my final thoughts about the super predator thing. If we are super predator, if black men are super predators, certain ones of us, then we are the children of a super predator nation, right? America eats its own, right? Is that what my man George Clinton said? America eats its own. Right? Listen, this is a capitalistic society. And by definition, that makes all of us here mercenaries to some degree. You rarely see people who operate from a heart-centered space and really have no expectation of the work they do for you. You rarely meet those kind of people here in America. There's all types of silent contracts, all types of I love the word you used earlier when we were talking about the other brother, maneuverer, right? Everybody's maneuvering, right? So you cannot point out the end result of an experiment you conducted and say that is, a super predator and they lack empathy. Who lacks more empathy than an insurance company? Right? Who lacks more empathy than the IRS? Yeah? Who lacks more empathy than the United States government in the way it deals with its people? Don't you hate it when you're right on your bill and you go to the people and you say, hey man, you guys messed up. You withdrew $200-300 and you know it takes them 6-8 months to get you your money back. But when you late on the bill, your shit cut off in 48 hours. America is a mercenary kind of country, right? It's a capitalist society and it filters into our relationships. It's a competitive society. And you talk about empathy? Listen, we did a show here called Pathological Altruism. You think because you give food stamps that you're doing good. But you also create the infrastructure that creates a class that needs food stamps. And you make sure that they stay there. If you take your kid out of that impoverished neighborhood and try to put him into the school over there in the wealthy side, your ass going to jail because you can't send your kid to that school because he ain't in that district. He don't live in that district. You create, listen, I don't want to hear nothing about empathy and super predators when all we live amongst are super predators when we talk about big business, right? Then you look at the black people who aspire to be recognized by those who lack empathy. No disrespect to anybody out there, but when you hear somebody say, I'm fighting the white people to stay in this position, you're a mercenary. You're a mercenary. You're bought and paid for. You did something to stay there. You compromised something in your being to stay there because you don't want to lose your job. I can't speak up. If I speak up, I lose my pension. Yes, you've been bought by a mercenary type system. This is what people don't understand. You want to change the system? This is where I disagree with Veronica. It's not black men and women getting together and beating the shit out of white people at their own game. That's one way to do it. But I'm one who says fuck their game. Be the author of your own game. Oh, you mean to say you can't do that? Well, Chinese people done did it pretty well. White people go see Chinese people in their neighborhoods where they work at. White people go in there bowing. Yeah, they go in there respecting the culture. Black people don't do that. Black people assimilate into the culture and then look for acknowledgement from those who fucking don't want them in their system. Then they go, well, fuck you here now, so fuck it. Hey, how you doing, Raheem? Shit. Do you understand? Today's educational system is the Monsanto of knowledge. They don't want you to know the real information. None of these kids are educated on real estate. Like you said, get them career ready. They're not educated on real estate. They're not educated on debt. They're not educated on any of these things. Credit, money. They're not educated on nothing. They're just thrown out there. Sink or swim, motherfucker. But black people lack empathy. Come on, man. Who funded my homeboy? You know what I'm talking about. The real Ricky Ross. Who funded him? Did they have empathy for him? I'm doing for you, brother. I'm giving you guns. I'm giving you dope. Shit, supply crack to your neighborhood. I'm helping you. Pathological altruism. Giving you a piece of bread and some cheese and fucking going to the banks and say, don't loan to those niggas now. Come on. Get the fuck out of here. Is Charlie Manson a super predator? The motherfuckers who killed JFK, are they super predators? Build your own society. Build your own educational system. Get your own businesses together. Create your own legal system. Create your own media. That's how you get the fuck away from those who don't want you around. But since it's politically correct to make sure that there are a few black faces in some films, come on in, niggers. The few niggers we like. I tell you, that's the super predator in the world right now. I'm done, goddammit. Bobby, where can they find you, brother?
www.realmendon'tplay.com, at Glanton Smith on Twitter.
Dr. G?
At Mark Goulston on Twitter. Please tweet me. Also tweet me questions you'd like me to answer, because that's a segment I'm going to do here on another show, Your Problem Solved Today. So
awesome.
Tweet me those.
Awesome, so awesome. Veronica Conway.
Yeah, I want to give these resources for people if they want to check them out. This is a resource that talks about Tomatis and Simonis sound therapy. That's the sound therapy that I did for my son. So if you go to thelisteningcenter.net, thelisteningcenter.net, you can find out information on Simonis and Tomatis sound therapy. And if you want information on bioetherics, which is the distance energy signal, you can email me directly at veronica@veronicaconway.com. And I'll put you in touch with the people that do that.
Excellent. And listen, if you want to hear my lecture, please, for all those who have my app, go to the app, click the Zoe's Lecture on Manhood, man, and you know, purchase that app. I mean, purchase the lecture. You get to see it on my app. It's only on my app. You won't see it anywhere else. I appreciate everybody for supporting the movement. Please continue to support the relationship dismount, how to stick the landing when exiting a toxic relationship. iBooks, Kindle, or you can go to my website. I am Zoe Williams. I'll send you a copy. I'm going to the post office tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like I said, this is part one. We got to do this again. This is another show we got to do again. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Deuces.
Woo!
You are watching T Radio V. Radio in TV.